Hello, everyone. I am just checking in to make sure everyone is still hanging in there in light of recent events. I previously made a video where I vehemently condemned the rising racist attacks, both verbal and violent, against our fellow Asian community members. This being the very next day, I am noticing a lot of anger, confusion, fear, and senses of helplessness. For many of us, especially those of us who are of Asian descent, we are feeling all of the emotions I mentioned above. As a Buddhist priest, I am here to say that it is normal, it is healthy, and necessary for us to process the events that are happening. Oftentimes, we Buddhists are put in this false and deluded model minority myth that we are all able to take things in stride. We are always able to gently take things without getting angry. Oftentimes, images of peaceful, serene, meditating monks are superimposed on all of us. And this thought that we are always able to handle things in stride is to be expected of us. This is not true. For many of my fellow Buddhists within temples all across the country, if you are feeling upset, if you are feeling angry, if you are feeling hurt, if you are feeling rage, that is okay. I feel all of those things too. I am frankly pissed off, especially since there was an event that happened 2 days ago where 8 people were killed and 6 of them being of Asian descent. Already, many people are trying to state, well, this wasn't really a race thing, or it was a sex addiction, not a race thing. Why can't it be multiple things? Not to dwell on one case in particular, events like these have caused people of Asian descent all over the country to go into a super defensive mode. Maybe many of us are afraid, and maybe many of us are starting to feel paranoid. Again, as a Buddhist priest, I say now that to feel such things is normal, and we have to allow all of these feelings to process, and we have to navigate through them in our own time and way. To think that we as Buddhists can just jump up to the serene-like monk appearance that is often superimposed on us is both folly and wrong. However, I ask that all of us as Buddhists, and I ask my fellow Asian Americans alike, let us do all that we can do to resist temptations of taking acts of vengeance and violence ourselves. Most recently, I have noticed in social media that there was another incident where an Asian woman was attacked in San Francisco, and in a turn of events, the man who attacked her was hospitalized because obviously he underestimated the person he targeted. Let me be very clear at first that I believe that this woman had every right to defend herself, and that this man going after her to the hospital should go to jail. And I believe that justice should be served to him as such. But I was noticing that many people were also responding with glee and happiness that this man was sent to the hospital. Okay? Now again, I want to emphasize, the Asian woman, the 75-year-old woman, had every right to defend herself. Okay? However, I am a little bit concerned to see like all of the happiness and the glee that, ooh, this person got hurt, and I'm so glad that this person is going to jail, right? This is a trap. As a Jodo Shinshu Buddhist, it is within our doctrine to acknowledge the humanness within ourselves and realize that we at times are prone to bouts of anger and outburst. However, this does not mean that we succumb to those violent and horrible thoughts as well. And we don't want to encourage horrible tendencies and encourage horrible behavior either. Now, once again, I think that this 75-year-old woman in San Francisco had every right to defend herself and to ensure that she herself was not killed. However, I'm starting to see encouragement of Asian people buying weapons of their own and buying batons and guns. As a Buddhist, I cannot endorse or condone this kind of response either. Not the fact that we shouldn't defend ourselves from an unprovoked attack, okay? but that buying weapons and succumbing to this view that the only way to survive life in this country is if we are all armed to the teeth, this is also a foolhardy view and will not curb the violence. I ask my fellow Buddhists to stand with me and continue condemning these violent actions against Asians in this country. I ask that we do not succumb to our own inner hatreds and biases towards other people. We must learn to expect the unexpected and realize that there is a pattern of racist attacks against Asian Americans in this country. It is on the rise, and we need to be vigilant. We have a right to defend ourselves, but acts of violence and vengeance should have no place in our lives. Unprovoked attacks should be met with defense and with justice, but we must not allow our anger to turn into destructive forces that will ultimately destroy us all. We must look out for one another. We must be aware of our surroundings, but let us, as Buddhists, not walk the path that leads to more anger. More violence and more hatred will not stop violence and hatred. If anyone thinks that this is easy for me to say, it is not. How many times have I thought about anger in my head? How many times have I wanted to succumb and purchase a weapon myself? How many times have I wanted to lash out against the world in anger? Too many times to count. Like all of you, I am just as scared, just as angry, and just as filled with a sense of hopelessness as all of you. But to end this video on a hopeful note, know that while there are many forces and people out there in the world who would do us harm, there are also people and groups who support us as well. There are groups now who are fighting on our behalf as well. We have to join in this fight against racism. We cannot just stand idly by and wait for other groups to do the work for us. We must also rise up and say in our own voices that we have had enough. And in the link below, I encourage you to really reach out and educate yourself on proper ways on how to report these incidents. We all have to be here for each other. We all have to support each other. We must all speak out against this anti-Asian racism. We must all speak out against anti-Black racism. We must all speak out against LGBTQ prejudice. We must all speak out against this type of behavior. We must always speak out against it. We cannot continue to stay silent on these matters. Thank you very much for watching. Nam mandats, nam mandats, nam mandats.